Okay, very welcome to the day one, week one sessions on the Selenium Java online training. My name is Pallavi, and I'm going to be your trainer for the next 7 weeks for the teachings on the concepts of Selenium WebDriver and Java as a programming language. A little bit about myself. I have around 9 years of experience in the field of functional test automation, testing in general, where I have played a variety of roles as a QA engineer, as a lead, as a project manager, and I've got experience in development of frameworks for test, functional testing, performance, and so web services as well. I've been associated with SCH for past 2 years now, imparting these online trainings on Selenium, where we have a global audience, uh, which we meet every morning, 3 times in a week, to discuss on the concepts of Selenium WebDriver. Other than that, I basically hold two provisional patents to my name for the development of a functional test framework, which is independent of the tool. So that's a little bit about me. So before we start these sessions, I would like to know about yourself, about you guys. So feel free to please start uh, typing out in the question answers window which you guys have on your system, and I will be interested in knowing that how many years of experience relevant to testing you guys have, and if you have any experience in any programming language or in any functional testing tool. So please let me know about yourself. Okay, Kathleen, good to know about you. Okay, Vrinda. Okay. Okay, Manish, Yogita, Himanshu. Okay. So, Himanshu, do you have any experience with any functional testing tool or any programming language? Okay, Hemant. Okay, Avanti. So, Yogita, you already know Selenium? Okay, Michael. Welcome to the class. Okay, Sai. Okay, Manshu. No programming. Okay, that's all right. Okay, Akshay. Okay. Okay, Nagharita. Okay, Walid. Great. Okay, cool. So we have got a variety of people joining us with a variety of wide background. So that is interesting. Seems like an interesting batch. Okay. So before we begin these sessions, I would like to make you all comfortable by saying that during the course, as we start the course, we are under no expectations that you know anything about test automation or you know any programming language. So that is not expected from you guys because that is what we are supposed to teach you. So please do not have any preconceived notions in your mind about this part. And secondly, that if you are under an impression or if you are facing an issue with the learning or the way the course is delivered or anything under the sun, please feel free to you know, get back to us. And if you get back to us the earliest, the better we will be able to resolve the issue at hand and iron out all challenges that you will be facing. Okay, so that's what I asked from you guys. Okay, so we are gonna meet 3 days in a week for 7 weeks for around 2 hours, in which we will have close to a break of about 10 minutes. Um, the training software which is used is GoToWebinar. You will not be allowed in this, you will not be able to talk out. So you have to type your problems, and that you will be doing, which you have already started doing through the question and chat window. The session recording, the materials, the presentation notes, exercises which we do in the class, the assignment which you guys are supposed to do, everything will be sent over mail to you after the class has ended within next 3-4 hours. So every day, each day's material will be mailed to all of you. So that is there, and the course email address is sthseleniumcourse@gmail.com, in on which if you have any question, anything you would want to talk to us about, you have to drop us a mail on this course email address. So does anyone has any question before we start with today's discussion? Okay, sure, Michael. Thank you for informing. Okay, so I'm very excited to start this batch with you. I hope you all feel the same, and I am sure that you all understand that you have all taken it up to yourselves to learn a new topic. And by all means, I'm here to ensure that you all do learn well along with the rest of the people in the batch. So let's begin. So today's agenda is that why do we need test automation? Why should we go for open source test automation? Introduction to some of the tools, and then introduction to Selenium and the R application under test. So when we talk about software test automation, there are different words in here: automation and testing. Now automation is generally um, mentioned whenever we have a task which has been doing by a man or a human being, but then it has been replaced by a machine. So anything which was earlier being done by a human has now been replaced by a machine is known as the task for automation. And software testing is a process. What do we mean by software testing? Any one of you? What exactly do we mean by software testing? So, any answers about what we mean by software testing? Okay. So, it's a check whether the software is functioning to meet the quality standard when the product is released, ensuring that software product in hand is almost bug free. Almost bug free is a good way to say it, Avanti. So is there any product actually out there in the market which is totally bug free, where there is no bug, no fault, no issues? Yeah, so there is none. Okay, great. So it's basically software testing is a process in which we are supposed to ensure that what was expected is what is getting delivered. Okay. So the expectations or the way the product should be functioning or the way the product is designed or the way the product is secured or performing, etc., are all defined when a client is mentioning his or her requirements to us, which are generally captured in an SRC or BFD document. Okay. So that is the starting point for your development team, and that is also a document to be referred to for your test teams, right? And anything which is a deviation from a normal or a deviation from the expected would be a bug. So products are generally released when they undergo this testing cycles, and in which it is ensured that okay, the product is now being released with this set of acceptable bugs, which are generally mentioned in your release notes. Okay, good. So when we are trying to test a product, there are a lot of test cases which a team has created, and the nature of the testing is such that most of the test cases which fall under the category of regression testing. And what do we mean by regression testing? Anyone? So what does regression testing means? So regression testing or regression test cases, basically there are a few scenarios which are selected from our a large number of test cases. So we have selected scenarios. Those scenarios have to be tested with each product release. Every time a product is released, a regression set of regression test cases or a regression test suite has to be run over it every time. And the purpose behind it is that we have to understand or we have to figure out that because of fixing of any bug or because of creation of a new feature, the feature which was already working in a working condition or was already bug free has not broken down or has not introduced new bugs. So that is why we perform regression testing. Okay. For example, let us say you have got a login scenario which was working fine with the product release version, say 1.1. Now the product release version 1.2 comes. Will you test the login again or will you not test the login again because it was already working in the previous version, so it should work in the next version? You will test because the product has not yet been freezed, the code has not yet been freezed. There are changes happening at the product because of which there was a new product version release, say 1.2. And because of the changes happening, because of bug fixing or creation of new features, it could so happen that your earlier feature, which was bug free, which was working fine, is now breaking down. So these are captured during your regression test scenarios, and those are your candidates for your test automation. Because regression is repetitive. With every product release cycle, you will be testing, you will be performing those same test cases on your product again and again. So there is a repetition. Second types of candidate test cases are those which are data driven. There is a lot of data intensive test cases. So a lot of data to be tested against the same scenario. A good source of test automation candidates. So in general, if our manual test cases count is 100, around 60 to 70% of our test cases can be automated. 100% test automation is never possible. 100% test automation of your testing manual testing effort is not possible. Generally, 60 to 70% is an acceptable range in which we are able to identify those test cases which can be automated. And sometimes the test cases which cannot be automated are generally those which fall under the category where the effort of converting them into automation script is much more higher than to do it manually, or sometimes even they're just not possible because of some technology difference or usage of some third party tools or integrations or things like that. So when we are using a test automation, when we are performing a test automation of those regression test scenarios, what is that we are achieving? We are achieving a decrease in time. How a decrease in time is possible? So before we answer this question, let me know what is the expected count supposed to be met in a day to execute manual test cases. How many manual test cases are you supposed to execute in a day? So for some it is 10 to 12 test cases, for some it is 25 to 30, 15. So if we have around 8 hours, these are the number of test cases which you are supposed to execute. So let us say the count to execute the test cases in 8 hours work is say 20 test scenarios. Okay, so let's say for a 1 day effort of a man or of a tester, we have 20 test cases to be executed. And let's say the count of test cases to be tested is 500, or let's say it's 1000 for a product. How much time will it take for one tester to execute 1000 test cases when his or her productivity is 20 test cases in a day? 50 days, is that right? Okay. We generally do not have that much amount of a time, right? A testing is supposed to be a process where it is done at a good speed. We want to quickly know whether the product is meeting the standards or not. What are the number of bugs which have been found? Is the product releasable or not? So what do? Let's say we increase the number of people. Let's say we now have 5 people, 5 testers. So how many days will 5 testers need? 10 days, right? Okay. So if you have got 5 testers and each can execute 20 test cases in a day, you got 10 days. But then what about quality of the work? It can vary, right? Because it's a human being which is supposed to test the product. Then there could be situations where the person has overlooked a scenario. So every single iteration he or she is working or testing the product, the chance of an error because of human intervention could not be avoided. Okay, it will happen. There could be a test case which should not have been executed in this manner, or maybe you forgot to execute a particular step. So there is a chance of error which will be introduced. So a bug might have been overlooked, or an issue which was not resolved, is not captured again in the testing, and then the cycle or the time taken is 10 days. Sometimes even 10 days are not acceptable. You want to reduce further, then what would you do? You will again increase the count. Or let us say now, instead of 1000 test cases, because of new feature development, you have got 2000 test cases. Then what would you do if you have to meet the 10-day cycle? How many more testers will you introduce? Another 5, right? So this is not gonna end. So when your effort is increasing, you are supposed to increase your team, and by increasing your team, your cost is increasing. There is a challenge to quality, and your delivery time may or may not be really impacted. And also the utilization of resources. You're using a human's mind for repetitive tasks is not a very advisable thing to do, because the mind is supposed to be uh, a creative place, so it can be better utilized. That's why we go for test automation. The scenarios for regression, because there is repetition. Data intensive scenarios, again because there is repetition, they are all very good candidates for automation. Okay, and by doing automation, what is that we achieve when we are going to replace a tester by a machine? What is that you are going to achieve? Obviously there would be a decrease in the cost in the long run. There would be an increase in quality, because the chances of error, because of the chances of human error has been greatly reduced. Your manual testing team, or your testing team, your manual testing team can be better utilized to perform testing of more challenging scenarios than spending time on repetitive and simple scenarios. And yes, there is obviously a reduce in the redundant task. Okay, so that is why we go for test automation. Now, when you start your test automation process, some of the elements should be in place. You should have a dedicated workforce. There should be a well defined plan and strategy to go for test automation. The human resources or your team should be trained on the tool and the language which that tool is using, which you are planning to use for test automation. There should be commitment or buy in from the senior management, and effective tools and machines should be made available for creation and maintenance purpose. Now there are many functional testing tools, web functional testing tools available out there in the market. So they generally fall under the category of commercial tools and open source tools. So when we talk about commercial tools specifically for web functional testing, you have got tools like QDB, which is also now known as UFT from HP. You have got RFT from IBM. You have got Silk Test. Okay, you have got Test Complete. These are the tools which are available out there in the market, which are commercial in nature. By commercial tools, we mean that those tools for which we have to pay a license fee for their procurement. Okay, and these tools are expensive. The license cost is very expensive as compared to the open source solutions. In the open source solutions, the example tools are like Water, Selenium, Sahi, SoapUI, etc. And the open source tools license cost is zero. There is no license cost to be paid to procure an open source testing solution. Okay. So why should we go for open source testing solution? SoapUI is for automation for web services, Himanshu. Why should we go for open source testing solutions? The cost of procurement is low because there is no license cost. So the effort or the cost involved in the test automation process is highly reduced. It is customizable. Generally, the commercial tools come with their own predefined set structures, and according to which we have to test or establish our processes. But in open source solutions, we can customize it according to our needs. There is an ease of procurement because you don't not have any sales team talking to each other. There is no license fee involved, etc. It is just off the shelf. Go ahead, go to the website of the open source solution, just go ahead and download the software. And yes, there is a sense of contributing back to the community which the open source tools belong to. Okay, so we have a question then, why does companies use commercial tools? We will talk about it in a little while, Subrata. So before we discuss about the benefits of open source or the benefits of commercial over open source, here is the links of some of the open source solutions which are available out there in the market. Water, Selenium, Sahi, and yes, there is a link out there here which basically talks about a lot of open source solutions which are available out there in the market. In all these solutions available, Selenium as a tool, as a solution for web functional testing is most popular. And why is it so? We will see that shortly. But before that, let us understand that why commercial or why open source? We have understood why open source, right? But why commercial? Why do people go for commercial test automation solution? A, there is a ease of use with commercial tools, okay? Why are you paying, okay? People who have used QDP or UFT or they've used Test Complete or they've used RFT, they have got a very nice GUI which is very much user friendly. Less programming knowledge is needed as they have got um, good interfaces for test development, maintenance, and creation of test artifacts like object repository or object management, data management, reports, results are taken care by itself, by the tool itself. And yes, support is assured because you are paying for it, okay? Since you're already paying for it, is assured. D, compliance. Sometimes in very big organizations or even smaller ones, there are compliance issues because if they're working with a particular client, they have got security concerns or they have got some compliance concerns in which, according to the guidelines mentioned by them, you cannot use the open source solutions. Then they generally go for commercial tools. Yes, so Subrata has also mentioned a good statement that if there is a issue with the tool itself, then the organization from which you have procured the license for that tool is made accountable. But in open source, there is nobody who is made accountable. Okay. And also, there could be security concerns if your data is very much, important. For example, in insurance sectors or in banking sectors, sometimes it is not advisable to go for open source solutions. So I'll share a link, a document with you guys, which basically talks about the differences between Selenium and UFT as a tool, and listing out all these challenges. So do go through it. Okay, good. So remember, when we talk about open source solution, the open source solutions do not provide us all these features by default. That is, the tool itself doesn't talk about object management, data management, securing of data, or creation of reports, results, etc. That is not the job. That is not what an open source tool covers. An open source tool basically provides you the ability to automate your web based applications. Since you're talking about functional testing of web based application, that is what the open source solution provides us with. The rest of the things we have to develop around the open source solution on our own. But do remember that we are paying zero amount, that is, you are paying no license cost, which generally runs in millions for commercial tools. So that's a huge factor for many organizations to choose an open source solution over commercial counterparts. Okay, so now let's start our discussion on what exactly do we mean by Selenium, or what is Selenium. So Selenium is basically a group of different components. Selenium is basically a group of different components which provide solution for web functional test automation, and yes, it is open source. So it is an group of different tools, different components which are open source, and the purpose of these tools are to provide solution for web functional testing, functional testing of those applications which are web based. It was created by Jason R. Huggins in the year 2004, and it was originally named as JavaScript Functional Tester. It was mainly created within the organization ThoughtWorks and later released to the open source community. There are some very cool features of Selenium which makes it powerful in the open source world, as well as a good contender as in compared to commercial tools. A Selenium test automation tool can support multiple browsers. That means you can run your test cases created with the help of Selenium on Firefox, IE, Chrome, Opera, Safari. You can run Selenium test on different operating systems. So it is operating system independent. You can run the test on Windows, on Mac, on Linux, etc. Also, a very cool feature, you can create the Selenium test in any of the programming languages with Selenium support. You want to use Java, go ahead, use Java. You want to use Python, you use Python, Ruby, Perl, C hash. A lot of languages are supported by these tools Selenium, which all these cool features make it as a very popular and a very strong tool to be used. So the license fee of Selenium is zero. It is released under the Apache 2.0 license, and it can be downloaded and used without paying even a single penny to any organization. This is the website of Selenium, the place where everything about Selenium can be found. seleniumhq.org. HQ stands for basically headquarters. seleniumhq.org. So in this, there are some tabs. You have got projects, which is the first tab, basically talks about Selenium and the different components of Selenium. In the download section, you can go ahead and download the different releases of different components of Selenium available. The documentation is the tutorial of Selenium which is available for you to refer. It's the complete tutorial, very detailed tutorial, and a very helpful tutorial. Then you have got support. To find out support for Selenium, there are some Google groups, LinkedIn forums, chat rooms, and then there are some organizations which provide commercial support over Selenium functional testing tool. And lastly, you have some about where the news, events, etc. are shared. So Selenium, as I told you, has got many components which together form the Selenium functional testing tool. So those components are Selenium IDE, Selenium RC, Selenium WebDriver, and Selenium Grid. So we have got Selenium IDE, Selenium RC, Selenium WebDriver, and Selenium Grid. So what do we mean by Selenium IDE? Selenium IDE is basically an integrated development environment in which with the help of record and playback, we capture our test scenario and execute it. So Selenium IDE was created to help with recording of the scenarios and playing them back. It is effectively a add-in on your Firefox browser, which basically means that Selenium IDE works with no other browser than your Firefox browser. It only supports recording of the test on the Firefox browser, also the execution of the test on the Firefox browser, as it is installed as a Firefox add-in. Is this clear? So I have received only two yes. What about the others in the audience? Is this part clear? The Selenium IDE only supports the Firefox browser and it doesn't work with any other browser. It is an add-in in the Firefox browser, and the only purpose of Selenium IDE is to help record the test and play it back. Good. Then because of its limitations, or actually not because of its limitation, the way IDE was created, or the purpose, the IDE was created for recording and playing back. If we want to move ahead and do more in test automation, that is, we want to run our test on multiple browsers, we want to run our test with different data, we might have some looping statement or some conditional statement happening within our test scenario. For that, we have to move on to full-fledged test automation solutions like Selenium RC or Selenium WebDriver. They both support running of test cases on multiple machines using multiple languages on multiple browsers. But then there is a significant difference between Selenium RC and Selenium WebDriver, which I will talk about shortly. And then you have got Selenium Grid, which is that component of Selenium which basically allows the test cases to be executed in parallel on the machines which have become part of that grid. So what are the four components? You have IDE, RC, WebDriver, and the grid. IDE is for recording and playing back, RC and WebDriver are for full-fledged test automation, and grid is for to establish the execution of the test scenarios in parallel. For that we use the grid. So Selenium Grid is that component of Selenium which allows the execution of test scenarios in parallel. So at the same time, more than one test scenario can be executed on a different browser and on a different machine. So why IDE was integrated with Firefox? Because the person who created IDE has got the affinity for Firefox, and Firefox during that time allowed different add-ins to be created over its browser and be a part of it, which the IE used to not make it available then. And Chrome was not popular during that time. Whereas Firefox provided a better interface to develop an add-in and plug to it. It's like a plugin. That's why Firefox on the Firefox browser the IDE was developed. What is the difference between RC and grid? What is that you think, Akshay, is the difference between RC and grid? Now I have discussed about it. So a grid basically allows the test execution to be done in parallel. It is not a feature supported by any of RC or WebDriver tools. Okay. So we have got Selenium IDE, RC, WebDriver and Grid. Selenium RC is also known as Selenium 1.0 and Selenium WebDriver is also known as Selenium 2.0. The difference between RC and Grid is the way these tools perform web functional testing, or these tools automate the browser. So when we talk about RC, it basically injects JavaScript proxy server within the browser. So the command is captured by the proxy server, which then automates the browser. Whereas a WebDriver uses the browser own API to automate it or to drive it. So in a WebDriver technique, there is no inserting of any JavaScript to the browser. It uses the default browser API itself to automate it or to drive it. A WebDriver has got a better control over the browser functioning than a RC, and that is why it is more popular. So each browser, whether you have IE or you have Chrome or you have got Safari, they have got their own web drivers. So by default, Firefox or Mozilla comes with the Selenium WebDriver. For the rest of the other browsers, we have to first establish the WebDriver for that browser, and then only we can automate the browser. We will talk about it again in the coming days. But are these four different components of Selenium clear to all of you? So if you are asked, can you run the test recorded in Selenium IDE on Internet Explorer? So your answer is no. Which component of Selenium is used for parallel testing? Good, that's right. What is Selenium 2.0? Okay, so the question was that which component of Selenium is known as Selenium 2.0? The answer is WebDriver. That is right. Okay. Okay, so the question was, what does we mean by browser's own API? What do you mean by an API? Before we talk about browser's own API, what do we mean by an API? Application Programming Interface is what API means. Okay. So what does an API do? Whenever there is a software which is developed, it some of the softwares allow a layer of it available so that communication with the outside world could be established. So there are generally two ways to use a software. A, the way the software should be used. B, by programmatically using its API, that is the exposed application interface, which allows us to also use the software. You can read more about API on your wiki or on Google. So basically, every browser has their own API layer, which it is exposing so that we can use it to drive the browser or to automate the browser. And on this concept, the WebDriver is based. Please understand, WebDriver is a word which uses this technique, or it is the name of the technique in which the browser own API is being used to drive it. It is not something common to Selenium. You have got WebDriver technique used in other functional testing tools like Water, etc. also. So we generally say Selenium WebDriver. Okay? Is this clear to you guys? Great. Any questions? Okay. So let's take a short break in here for 5-10 minutes. So during the break time, my voice will be on. During the break time, my voice will be on mute and my screen will be on hold. And after the break, we will be discussing about Selenium IDE and we will have a walkthrough of the application under test. The application, the live project which we will be using throughout the course, we will have a walkthrough of it. Also, we will see the installation and working of Selenium IDE as a tool. Okay? So I'll see you all in a short time of 10 minutes. And during the break time again, my voice will be on mute and my screen will be on hold. Thank you. Okay, resuming the session. I hope you all can hear my voice and see the screen. Okay, Manish, you have raised a valid point. So basically, Manish is saying that I am not, um, I am not speaking the question which the people are asking, and I'm just answering them directly. So the rest of the people don't know what I'm talking about. So I'm sorry, I forgot I have to do that. Sorry, it's just that it happened in a flow. I'll take care of it, Manish, and again pinpoint me if you think that I have not repeated the question. Okay, so we have another question from Yogita. Do we need to use RC and grid all the time together? The answer is, see, Yogita, actually, grid is when we are going to talk about grid, but I think you already know a little bit of Selenium, like you mentioned, so I'll answer you. Um, RC is known as Selenium Server, and basically, we run Selenium Server in two different modes to establish grid. One is the hub mode, and the another is the node mode. Okay. So grid is effectively a structure which the Selenium server itself creates by allowing it to be invoked in two different modes, a hub mode and a node mode. And rest now we will cover when we will talk about grids, because I do not want the rest of the audience to get confused, or if you want we can talk about it after the class as well. Okay. So is there any question from what all we have discussed so far? Okay. So let's have a walkthrough of the application which we will be using as a live project, okay? And then we will talk about the Selenium IDE. So www.karguruji.com/shop is the name of the website, which is our live project, our web application which we would be using to learn Selenium. It's an e-commerce website which basically allows you to register yourself as a user, then log in to the system. It then allows one to go ahead and search for some products, buy those products. Also allows you to change your profile information, change your password, find out how many orders you have made. So it is basically a e-commerce website. Okay. So this is the our live project which we will be using to learn Selenium. So some of the flows I'll be talking about, and some of the flows I would be giving you all as an assignment. So I click on this My Account link, and with the help of the registered username and password, I am logging to the application. Once I am logged into the application, I am on the My Account information page. In this, you can either go ahead and change your account information, change entries in your address book, change your password. You can view the orders one has made. Let's say I want to go ahead and change my account information. I'll click on this link, and I will say I'll change my last name and perform a continue. So the last name would be updated. Now let us say I want to search for a product to buy it. I go ahead and on the search box I mention the product name. I click on buy now. Allow it to add to the cart. Then I do a checkout. Continue. Here we have to select the preferred payment method. We say that I want to pay on delivery, cash on delivery. and we confirm the order. Now, no product is gonna get delivered to your doorsteps, neither no money would also be deducted, so it's just a dummy site. And we get this message, your order has been processed. Back to the home page. You have to click on the log off button, then on the continue button to log off from this application. So the log off is a two-step process. Log off, you have to click on the log off link, and on the continue button to completely log off from the application. Now to register yourself, you have to click on my account, and here on this side, left hand side, you have to click on this continue button for new customer. This will take you to this registration page where after filling all mandatory details, you can press the continue button to register yourself as a user on this web application. Okay, so is this application functionality clear to all of you? Is there any question on it? Okay, so as your assignment, this is what I want you guys to do. Register yourself as a new user on the application for the following scenarios. Create manual test cases. Okay, and when we are creating those test cases, yes, I'm going to send you this assignment, the notes which I'm creating, the assignment which I am writing it down. I'll send it to you guys. It will be on your mail. Okay, and the manual test cases, I would want to see definitely test steps, validations, expected outcome. Use whatever format you are aware of, but these three fields I would want to see: a test description, the test steps, validations, and the expected outcome. Okay, so okay, so we have a question. What exactly do we mean by validations in here? Validations, by validations, I mean that, okay, sorry, your validations are same as your expected outcomes. Sorry, noted your point. So, for example, yeah, sorry, Subrata. So, noted your point. Basically, test description, test steps, and your expected outcome. Okay, so let us write down the log in logout scenario, the test steps. So what would be the test steps for the login logout scenario? Open the application, click on my account link, enter valid username, enter valid password, click on sign in button, click on log off, click on continue. Right? These are my test steps for the login logout. Are they correct? Okay, so let's keep this handy. So we will now know why there is an issue, Manish. Why click on log off? Because I want to log out from the application. The scenario is for login logout during log on. Sorry, I'm not able to understand the concern, Manish. Okay, okay, no issues. Fine. So let us say this is our test scenario, which we would be now uh, recording with the help of Selenium IDE and playing it back. So to learn that, we first have to procure Selenium IDE for our browser, Firefox. So to do that, the first thing which we have to note is that we have to be on the Firefox browser to procure Selenium IDE. So go open the Firefox browser and go to the website seleniumhq.org. On this, go to the download section. In the download section, go to the part where Selenium IDE is mentioned and click on the latest release version, that is 2.9.0. Click on it, you will receive a small pop-up kind of a thing which says that Firefox is asking you to install software on your computer. I would say allow. Once it has installed this, a pop-up would come mentioning that there are some add-ons from this Firefox install from this um, component. Do you want to install them or not? I would say yes, I would want to install them. Then it would ask us to restart the Firefox. We will say go ahead, restart your Firefox. So once your Selenium IDE is installed, you will see a small icon on your right hand side. This one, which says Selenium IDE, and you click on it, a new pop-up window would come up, which is basically your Selenium IDE. Are the steps clear to all of you? Okay, good. So let's open our application of interest, that is carguruji.com/shop. On this page, when we are on our home page of our application, I will pop up Selenium IDE. Now let's start the process of capturing our steps on IDE. So please note that as soon as Selenium IDE was invoked, this red button is already in a press state. It is already in a recording state. Can you all see this? So the red button is already enabled as you launch it. Now I'll go and start performing my steps. So what are my steps? My application is open. I have to click on my account. I have to enter the username, enter the password, click on the sign in button. Please note as you are doing these steps, it is also being captured with the IDE. Can you all see this? As I am performing the steps, it is being captured by the IDE. So now to complete the scenario, I'll go and click on the log off and on the continue button. So remember, there are two steps, log off and continue. Now my recording can be stopped. I will go to file, say save test case, and give it some name and save it. So my steps which I performed as recording was enabled, they are captured. I have also saved my test case. Now let's play it back. To play it back, I have to press on this play button with a single dash. It will execute the current test case. Please understand that the execution will move at a very fast speed. So you may or may not be able to see each step completely happening. So I press the play now button to play back the current test case. So it has clicked, it has logged in, it has pressed on the log off and it has pressed on the continue button. Happened way too quickly. So you can see that all steps are passed. They appear in this green color and the test case also is passed. Can you all see this? Now let us understand some of the features. Yeah, I'll show you a lot of failure test cases. Don't worry. Let's talk about some of the features of Selenium IDE. So Selenium IDE is this pop-up window which has been invoked as we click on the icon. In here, we would be creating our test cases. The name of the test cases will come here. When you highlight a test case, the test steps related to that test case will be populated in this command window. This window is known as the command window. Here you have all the Selenium commands, followed by some target, followed by some value. So basically, Selenium commands like open, type, click and wait, etc. are there. They need a target. By target, we mean the object on which the command should be executed using what data set. If you click on a command, the information regarding to that command would be populated in the reference window. And the logs here show your execution scenario, which generally helps with debugging. This is the record button. This is the play button for the single test case. This is the play button for the entire test suite. And this is the pause button, and this is the resume button, which helps us to execute the test scenario step by step. For example, let us click on this play button, and as soon as it is done, I clicked on the pause button. So now the step is that it has to enter the email address. I press this blue arrow. The email address is entered. The password is entered. Password is typed. Clicked on the sign in button. Now log off link is clicked and the continue link is clicked. And I'm back to the home page. Is this clear to all of you? So Kritika wants to see test case execution where there would be a failure. So for failure to happen, let me add a password which is an invalid password, okay? So I'm now log in, log out with invalid credentials. Let us see what happens. So it is still executing and you got a failure. Okay? So Selenium IDE allows one to record the scenario, play it back, make changes in the scenario in form of data, steps, commands, deletion, editing of commands, insertion of new commands. All this Selenium IDE allows. It also allows you to create more than one test case to form a test suite which can be put on execution. Okay. One thing to note here, which is also a very good practice in test automation, the start and the end screen of your test automation scenario is to be same. We should always come back to the screen where we started from. So we started from the home screen, we came back to the home screen. It is important so that the next test case in execution in a given test suite can execute successfully. Which brings us to another practice. Create independent test scenarios in automation. So in automation, the scenarios which we create are independent from each other. That is, one test case is complete in itself. Yogita, do you have a question? So we have a question: if a failure is between a test, so in a test suite, if there are some test cases which fail, what happens? What do you think should happen? You have a collection of test cases, which is a test suite, which contains 10 test cases. Out of them, 3 pass and 7 fail. What would happen? If a scenario is failing, if your test case is independent, then that particular test case will fail and it should move on to the next test case for execution in the test suite. Okay? We have another question. What if dependency is necessary for the site? Can you provide me an example scenario, Sai, where a dependency is necessary for the site? Okay, so let us say that yes, dependency could be necessary for some of the test cases, but it cannot be true for all scenarios of your application. Okay, so if in some of the scenarios dependency is necessary, so if your one test case fail on which the other test case execution is dependent, every test case would fail. Okay, can you all hear me? Okay, somebody asked actually. Okay. This test scenario, which we have recorded and saved as a file in Selenium IDE, let us see how is it saved. At the back end, the file which we have just saved, which is recorded here, is basically an HTML file. See this. This is an HTML file which we have just recorded and saved. Can you all see this? If you go ahead and right click on the page and say view page source, you will see the HTML of this page, the HTML tags, head, body, tr, td for tables, HTML tag for the HTML start document and end document, title of the page. So the file which we have created in Selenium IDE and we have saved it is basically a HTML file. There is a name given to this file. This is known as Selenium HTML, and there is a name given to this table. This table is known as the Selenium table. It has got a particular format, and the format is that your first column will always be commands, your second column would be the target or argument 1, and the third column would be argument 2. So in the first column where we have commands, a command can take either one argument or more than one argument. So those are mentioned in the second and third column respectively. The first column, the second column after the commands, this column basically captures the target on which the command has to act upon. Right now, what does these target means might be confusing and it is difficult to decipher. But easing out that, let me just mention that these are basically the object location information using which Selenium is able to identify the object uniquely on the page so that the command can act upon it. So the second column basically captures the target values, which is effectively the information about object location which Selenium uses to identify the object uniquely so that the action or the command can be executed upon it. Okay? Is that clear to all of you? I'm waiting for your yes or no. If it is not clear, please tell me. Otherwise, I will explain it again. Sure, I can repeat, Manish. Okay, another question. Can I add steps to an already existing test case? The answer is yes, I can. So,